What is going on YouTube? Welcome back to another Fantasy Football Scout video with me, Lee, and this is Sam from the FPL Family. Now, we are almost, Sam, halfway to the next wildcard. That's the way I'm looking at this season. Game week 8 is nearly upon us, and we're nearly halfway to 16 and nearly up to the second wildcard. But we've got a few game weeks to go before then. How was game week 7 for you? Okay?
Bang average.
Bang average. I was slightly above average thanks to Mr. Grealish, and I did notice actually on our FPL Family live stream on Sunday that if Grealish hadn't given that penalty to Watkins, I'd be above you right now.
Think you find you wouldn't, because I had Dallas playing get me 6 points
Oh, did you?
the night after.
Okay, all right, maybe I miscalculated that one. Interesting dynamic though. Grealish sort of like picked the ball up, sort of walked over to the penalty spot and like gave the penalty to... Is Watkins on penalties now? Do Grealish owners need to worry about that?
I don't think so. I think it was more just, there you go, sunshine. It's all yours.
Okay, all right, well, keep an eye on that one. I got a feeling that Watkins might actually be on penalties, you know, guys. But listen, as we will always do on these Lee versus Sam videos, we will review game week 7 and find out which one of us, hashtag Team Lee or hashtag Team Sam, won the point for game week 7. So results in just a second. And then, of course, we'll be getting into our picks for game week 8. And this week, I've got the nice job. I've got the over 10% owned. So I pretty much got anybody I want in the game. So my top picks for game week 8, and you've got the slightly more difficult job of picking the under 10% differentials for game week 8. But before all that, game week 7, how did it go?
So we went into game week 7 5-2 in my favour.
Yeah.
So still a little bit catching up to do from you.
After being 5-0 down though, it's momentum.
Okay. Sure. I mean, 1 week it was a draw, but all right, we'll take it as momentum. Right, so I had Ben Chilwell as my defender of choice last week. Nice clean sheet, 6 points. Thank you very much, Mr. Chilwell.
Should have had more, I think, Ben Chilwell.
Yeah, but I think
In some dangerous positions,
Look,
looks good.
I'll take the clean sheet.
Take the 6. Okay, go on then.
I'll take the 6. Then I had the main man from Manchester City, Kevin De Bruyne, in the middle.
Yeah.
Another 6-pointer from his assist. So
Okay.
take that.
This is sounding bad, all right?
And then, to make it a hat-trick of 6 pointers, Harry, the main man, the legend, that is Kane up top for
Okay.
another 6-pointer.
18.
18
I'm not going to beat
points.
18.
Now that is the first time any of our picks of our teams have all returned in a game
All
week.
3 have come in.
All 3.
Nice.
Thank you, Ben. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Harry. You legend.
I've not beaten 18. I can't say it.
So actually, I think with your first pick, you were really unlucky this week because you had Regulion, if you remember, or Regulon,
Yeah.
at Spurs. Got the assist, but was so unfortunate that goal didn't get VAR'd out for the...
How is that not a foul, by the way?
Well, I don't know, but if it wasn't a foul, and if it was a foul rather, and he'd have been on a clean sheet, so he'd have had 10, probably would have got a bonus point because of the way that the bonus point systems work, a clean sheet and an assist. Probably would have been worth 12 on his own.
What did he get? 5?
But he got 4. Which is annoying.
Okay.
But 4 points nonetheless. It's still an assist from a defender,
I'll
which
take
is a
it.
good
I'll
pick.
take it.
Then you put your faith in the wrong Liverpool midfielder. Of course, you had Mane, and it wasn't Mane's week this week, so just the 2 points from him. And then we both read that West Brom Fulham game totally wrong because I shouted about...
Oh, I had Carlin Grant,
You
didn't I?
did, and I shouted about West Brom and how defensively they were looking a bit better, and I thought they would beat Fulham. No, we got it wrong.
You can't say I wasn't. It was a ballsy pick. It was a risky pick.
It was brave.
It was brave. Okay.
Still the 8 points from you, but I will 100% take the 18-8 victory, and therefore 6-2 in my favour going into game week.
Okay.
8. Would you like to start us off with your pick?
I would. Yes, I would. So I'm going to go back to an old favourite. We're not going to talk about this guy very much because it feels like there's a lot of commentary about him right now and a lot of commentary about how well Chelsea have improved defensively, and of course they're playing in the Champions League. Actually, as we speak, as we record, they're playing Rennes in the Champions League. I'm really interested to see whether Frank can keep up that run of clean sheets that they've got right now, but they look really good defensively, potentially to the detriment of their attack, actually, because we're seeing them maybe not score as many goals as we would have liked, although I think scored a hatful against Burnley, didn't they? Which is kind of nice. But Ben Chilwell, I think last game week, obviously got the 6, as we mentioned before. Could have got more, was in nice positions, looked attacking. Now, I think you've got a bit of a, not a dilemma, but there's a choice to make if you want to go into the Chelsea defence. You've got Mendy in there at 5.1. You've got Zuma that's in there a little bit cheaper than Chilwell and scoring bullet headers left, right and centre. Or you've got Chilwell in there at 5.9 million. Now, he's almost up and owned by a quarter of the game. So, again, if you're looking for differential, you probably want one of the other two. But Ben Chilwell, defensive 6-pointers incoming thanks to Chelsea's new, their new ability to defend, which is just
solid, aren't they?
I mean, Thiago Silva and Chilwell and Mendy coming in have made all the difference there. And of course, you're going to get some attacking upside with Chilwell as well, thanks to his attacking prowess. So, not much to say, I don't think, other than I think we go with him, right?
I mean, basically, you've just copied me from last week.
Yeah. So, a nice pick. I'm going to go
what is this? Like, now you're losing, you just picked my picks.
Basically, how FPL is going to go from now on, Sam.
Wow.
You're absolutely right. So, you are going to counter my Chilwell, though, with Creswell.
Yeah.
So, 5.1, West Ham at home to Fulham in game week 8. Talk to us about this.
Well, of course, Fulham had a surprising, in our case, result against West Brom last week, where they did look a bit more attackingly, well, just a bit better attacking-wise. But West Ham have, for me, been the surprise package of this season so far, because that fixture run that they had at the beginning was just awful.
Oh, yeah.
And yet they've come out of it in a really decent position. They've had some really good results. And from a defensive point of view, they've looked a lot more solid than I was anticipating that they would. Now, this game against Fulham, I think you kind of have a straight choice. A bit like you were saying at Chelsea, you get the option. You've got Mendy, you've got Zuma, you've got Chilwell. At West Ham, you have similar kind of wealth of options, but I think for most FPL managers, you're choosing between Creswell or probably Kufau. Now, obviously, Creswell is a lot significantly more expensive than Kufau is, but actually, when you run through the members area and do a comparison between Creswell and Kufau, there is absolutely no comparison to be made between the two of them. Creswell wins by 82% when you sort it.
Okay.
It was also beating him for XA, XI, touches, passes received, dribbles, take-ons, retention, but pretty much everything. So if West Ham keep a clean sheet, there's also some good attacking potential from Creswell, a bit like you were just saying about Chilwell. And if that comes off, then in all likelihood, some bonus points too. So I think he could be a really nice game week option this week. And still, a differential pick, a nice option.
I'm interested to see the mentality and the approach that David Moyes' boys take actually over the next few weeks, because up to now they've been kind of the plucky underdogs playing on the counter-attack and using Antonio as their kind of secret weapon to do that. Well, they're going into a run of fixtures where actually the expectation is that they're going to get some results now rather than before, where there kind of was the expectation, get as many points as you can, lads,
Yeah.
Whereas now they've got the expectation to win, certainly at home to Fulham.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're all expecting West Ham to win. They haven't quite got that counter-attacking va-va-voom that Antonio gave them.
No.
And instead they've got I'm afraid to say, the fairly statuesque Sebastian Haller up there.
But in some ways, don't you think that might benefit Creswell? Because basically what they're going to be doing is just looking to lump balls into Haller. And if they can get the balls up to him, probably likely to be Creswell that's putting in those crosses. So there's some good assist potential, I think, this week.
Yeah, maybe. I think they like to counter-attack with width. And I think if they're going to go more direct to Haller, he might win some balls, but he's going to lose a lot as well. And a lot of the time against Liverpool, we saw that he wasn't even competing against Nat Phillips and Gomez. Everyone was lauding about Nat Phillips, but let me tell you guys, Nat Phillips won't have an easier game than he had against Haller at Anfield last week. Goodness me. So, yeah, I think Creswell's a nice pick, and the West Ham fixtures look nice for a few weeks. So, yeah, get on him if you want. I think for value, I'd prefer Kufau. But listen, this guy's outstatting him. So, yes, I'll give you that. I'll give you Creswell. Let's move into midfield and the plus 10%. Again, not going to spend too much time talking about Heung-min Son. But I've got to go. I know, it's crazy, right? And I think this graphic, actually, I was just looking at his ownership as I came on. It's 59.6. It's gone up 0.2 in the time it took Andy to do the graphic for us.
That's like a couple of hours ago, the graphic.
Absolutely ridiculous. So, Spurs not at home, away at West Brom.
Better away as well.
Actually makes him a better pick, I think, because, I don't know, are we going to get West Brom sitting in? You'd like to think that given they're at home, they might at least try and have a bit of a go at you. And we've seen how Spurs and that counter-attacking style with Son's pace obviously is far better on the road. Of course, the 6-1 against Manchester United when he got 18 points. Then if you look, the Southampton game, of course, where he got 24 points, absolutely crazy. And then obviously 11 points against Burnley. So on the road, Heung-min Son is absolutely the man. 9.6, so if you haven't got him already, it's going to be, I think, tricky to get him in your team because he's going up and up and up thanks to that ownership. But for me, he's probably going to be my captain this week because I fancy that he is going to get in behind that West Brom back line absolutely no problem at all. And I noticed a lot of rhetoric on Twitter and on the Fantasy Football Scout forums that actually West Brom have got defensively better since they moved to that back four about 4 games ago.
Were you listening to me talking?
And the likes of Ivanovic coming in, right? But I noticed actually on the right-hand side, their chances conceded, I've got the stat here, actually went up from 10.8 chances a game to 14 chances a game down that right-hand side.
Wow.
So despite moving to that back four and looking a little bit better, now listen, since they moved to that back four, the opposition they've played haven't been that great, to be honest. I think it's more to do with the opposition than it is with the change of tactics. But nevertheless, even so, even with that rhetoric, they are weaker down the side that Heung-min Son is going to play. So therefore, he is going to be my captain for this week. Nailed on as my over 10% pick.
The only concern I have for Son this week is Reguilon is not going to play in the Europa League this week because he's got the flu. Not COVID, just the normal
a cold
flu.
Okay, good.
So obviously part of that channel that you were talking about is him out of the back and then through Sonny and Kane, of course. And I just worry that without him, we did look a bit more static against Burnley when we played Ben Davis in that.
Not quite as dynamic, is he, Davis?
No, so that's my only concern with Son.
Okay.
Otherwise, I think he's a fantastic pick this week. And
him or Kane for the captaincy?
I'm really struggling on that this week, to be honest. I'm really struggling. I think there's a large part of me that wants to move it to Son because of everything you just said. But
pretty reliable Kane, isn't he? That's the problem.
Yeah, and I just feel like West Brom have got an accident and a penalty in them.
Hasn't every team this season,
Yeah.
let's face it. Let's move to the under 10% owned, and I like this one. Hakim Ziyech from Chelsea. Now, we know that the fixture is at home to Sheffield United. That is a nice fixture. Sheffield United, as we've said on these videos before, weaker, actually not on Ziyech's side, but down their right. So actually I'm looking at, like Pulisic and Chilwell. Pulisic if he's fit, right? But Werner as well, if Werner plays there. Maybe not necessarily on Ziyech's side, but listen, if they're getting joy down Chilwell's side and he's crossing it to the likes of Hakim Ziyech, this guy has got out of the blocks now that he's fit and ready to go for Chelsea. And at 5.4% ownership, still proper differential territory.
Absolutely, and I think made an even better option in terms of security of pick with Havertz now isolating for a couple of weeks.
He got a COVID positive, didn't he?
Test, yeah. So in terms of that Chelsea midfield, and one of my fears as an FPL manager so far with Chelsea has been the rotation risks of that midfield. Now, Lampard isn't Pep. He is a bit more consistent with his picks. However, there are still too many players in that position or across the midfield for him to play them all. Now, with Pulisic not going to be ready likely, and with Havertz in isolation for a couple of weeks, that leaves the likes of Ziyech and Mount probably with a bit more kind of freedom across the park. And we saw back in Gameweek 7, Ziyech had a fantastic game against Burnley. Really seemed to have kind of found his feet in the Premier League. And I think sometimes with players arriving new to the league, it does just take a few game weeks to kind of settle in and know what you're doing. And I think what we saw in that game was the beginnings of the player that he can be for Chelsea. And I'm backing him to have a really good game against Sheffield United, who defensively have been poor so far this season. They were a bit better in the last couple of game weeks.
They don't get smashed though, Sheffield United. They rarely get beaten by 3-4. They're reasonably solid.
But I think with Chelsea they are in that confident, they exude confidence right now from the back all the way through.
Sure.
So I'm expecting good things from them this weekend, and I think the Ziyech will be a good part of that.
Good test for him, I think, in the Premier League. It's going to be a physical battle, isn't it, against Sheffield United? Let's see if Hakim Ziyech can cut it on that right wing for Chelsea. Let's move to the forwards and the over 10%. I'm not going with Harry Kane, of course, because we can only have one player from each team. Got to go for Heung-min Son. Yeah, possibly. But then I've got to make these videos a bit more interesting than the over 10% pick is Kane every week, right?
Well,
so I went with Son.
Next week it'll be hard to pick Spurs players next week because the fixtures shift.
Fixtures start to get a bit more difficult, yeah. And of course, we are coming up. Keep an eye, guys, on the Fantasy Football Scout homepage and on the fixture ticker on the right hand side. If you remember, you can sort by difficulty, and of course you can change the difficulties if you disagree with them, but generally the guys that run the ticker know what they're talking about, and you can filter them by difficulty. And actually you will notice that we are on the cusp of a big fixture swing come game week 9-10, in particular towards Manchester City for game week 10. So if you are not forward planning to get Man City in game week 10, have a look at that ticker. But I'm going to go for Patrick Bamford, 6 million, still pretty cheap. Of course, he's rising in price, of course, from his 5.5 starting price. 32.4% ownership, so starting to creep up. But again, this goes back to the fixture. Crystal Palace away, I think, is a really nice fixture. We've seen Leeds toil a little bit at home. They kind of huff and puff, and they sometimes get results, sometimes leak goals. It's a bit difficult for them. But away from home, in the same way that we've just suggested Son and Spurs benefit, Leeds do the same. They are so fit, these guys, because of Bielsa's murder ball, that they run and run and run, and they press high, and when teams come at them at home, they attack.
Yeah.
They break that press and they go. And Bamford, he's got a bit of pace, and he's there at the right time, in the right place. Now listen, the hat-trick he scored in a couple of game weeks ago was absolutely sensational. He took those goals brilliantly well, but equally he has this knack of just this striker's instinct of being there in the right place where you want him to be. And of course, last away game, 17 points at Villa Park. So I think whether it's going to be another hat-trick for Patrick, who knows, but I like him.
Hat-trick for Patrick. I don't know. I think it's a nice pick. I do think it's a nice pick. I think Crystal Palace, without Mitchell last week, just didn't look. I mean, they've been letting in goals here and there and not necessarily keeping clean sheets right at the end, and they didn't look quite as solid as they had been without Mitchell, strangely to me, last week. So I think he was making a big difference, and it just didn't quite gel together. And don't know if he's going to be available for this week yet, but if he's not, I think that benefits Bamford even more so. So, and like you say, I think in the past, away games were always something that maybe we would shy away from as FPL managers, because we think, particularly a newly promoted club going away to an established Premier League side, we maybe would shy away from that. But this season, what we've seen from both Leeds and Spurs and a few other clubs is that actually those away games have proved to be...
Suits Leeds' style, I think.
Yeah,
it suits their style, no doubt about it. So there we go, Bamford in at 6 million. In his price bracket then is Che Adams, 5.8 million. Still only 2.6% owned, despite not a lot of FPL points in the first few weeks, but the underlying stats look good. Now he is starting to return. But tell me, what do you think? And obviously you think he's a good pick, otherwise you wouldn't put him in here. But with Danny Ings potentially unavailable for... We don't know. The initial scans don't look apparently as bad on his knee as they first thought, which is good. We want Danny Ings fit and firing in the Premier League, of course. But I doubt if Ings is going to be available for this Newcastle United game. And if he's not, what impact is that going to have on Che Adams?
So he won't be available for this weekend. So that, I think, does make a big difference to the way that... The way that they play. I think he's got to have surgery and is now expected back until December time, just before Christmas, Danny Ings. So
it is a little bit worse than we thought.
Yeah, so I think it's now or never, in my view now, for Che Adams, because if Danny Ings is going to go off and be out for 6 weeks or so after some minor surgery to his knee, and I think from what Hasselhoff was saying, it is going to be minor, but nonetheless, it's still out till December. So Che Adams, really, this is his moment, right? Southampton are playing incredibly well at the moment. Since that Spurs defeat, they have stepped it up a gear.
Pretty good, yeah.
And they have moved themselves forward. And as you said at the beginning, Che Adams has had all of the underlying stats to back him up as an FPL asset since the beginning of the season. And he had all of the pre-season hype around him because he played really well. Now, I can't make up my mind whether Che Adams has been really good and had the stats because of Danny Ings or in spite of Danny Ings. And I guess we're about to find out, because in reality now, we're probably going to see Southampton going back to playing one up top, with Che Adams being the one while Danny Ings is out. So let's see how he goes over the next, probably about 5 game weeks, because obviously we have an international break in that period of time when Danny Ings is out.
So you've picked him for this weekend, home to Newcastle. So you're obviously of the school of thought that he is going to say, right, well, this is my moment now. I am the main man. I'm going to score the goals now. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, I had him down as, I think he's going to be my pick for this week. And then I heard the Danny Ings news and was like, he's definitely going to be my pick now, because I think he is that sort of character. I think he is that sort of player that he likes when things are going well for him. And I think he feels like it's been a good start to the season. And I think he is at that pivot point where he knows he can do this. And so I think he'll stand up and be counted. And I think at 5.8 million, a huge, huge differential. I mean, I owned him for, how many game weeks? 6, 5? And since I've taken him out, actually, he started to score goals, which is typical. But yeah, I think he's one that's definitely back on my radar between now and Danny Ings returning for sure.
It'll be very interesting to see how he does, because I actually feel the opposite to you. I think he
own him.
I own him, and I feel that is a problem now without Danny Ings. Danny Ings is the sort of player that busies defenders. He's a very busy forward, and I think Che Adams, I think he will find it hard. I think defenders will find him easy to play against, or easier to play against, without Danny Ings. So listen,
we're going to see who's right, aren't we?
One of us will be right. Let's see. I personally, as an owner, hope that he steps up and scores against Newcastle.
You hope I'm right.
Of course, I hope you're right. But I think Danny Ings is so integral to that Southampton attack that it will affect Che Adams. But listen, let's see, guys. Let's see. Get in the comments below. Let us know whether you are Team Sam or Team Lee for this week. Remind us of the score, 6-2 to you now overall.
It is indeed 6-2.
Getting a little bit desperate. I need the points.
You need a little bit of sunshine.
A little bit of sunshine. You're absolutely right. And I think he's the man that's going to do it for me this weekend. So we've got hashtag Team Lee, hashtag Team Sam in the comments. We've got Chilwell versus Creswell.
Yeah.
We've got Son versus
Ziyech.
Yeah. You said that right. Very good. And we've got Bamford versus Che Adams.
Yeah.
All right. So guys, get in the comments. Let us know whether you think I can claw up to 3 points, or is Sam going to extend her lead to 7-2. Until next time, guys, leave us a like before you go. Hit that subscribe button if you're new to the Fantasy Football Scout YouTube channel, and we will see you this time next week. Cheers.
Bye, guys.